You speak to some of the most fundamental human needs that we have, of purpose, of community, of living lives of integrity. But the paths that were once clear are not so clear right now. And I'm wondering what practical guidance you might give and offer young people listening today that are like, okay, which voice do I listen to? Have I internalized my father's voice or my mother's voice? Is it the voice of God?
It's such an important question. And let me preface what I have to say about that with a little disclaimer. I'm 86 years old, and I know for all kinds of reasons, that my capacity to fully understand the situation in which people in their 20s and 30s find themselves these days is limited. Because, this ain't the world that I came up in on all kinds of levels, from the nature of education to the nature of politics to the nature of the job market to the advances in technology to the international situation, et cetera, et cetera. There's hardly any comparison, and it really annoys me when people my age say, hey, kid, do it the way I did and all will be well, because that's just not true. At the same time, I want to say that human identity and integrity, the deepest grounding within us, our deepest sense of who we are and how important it is to stay close to that, does not change with external circumstances. And in a groundless time like ours, where external grounding is so hard to find, it's pretty easy to make the case that internal grounding is more important than ever. What I will also say, Pam, about my own experience is that after taking a job as a community organizer where my income, even though I was married and had a couple kids, my income was unpredictable. We had to raise our own money a quarter at a time every 3 months for the 5 years I was doing it. And so one was never sure from one quarter to the next if we could sustain this work, this anti-racism work we were doing, working against blockbusting and redlining in the DC area. After 5 years of that, I went on to 11 years at a place where I was making a minimum amount of money because that was the communal model of radical equality that this Quaker institution practiced and invited us to learn from. And so what happened during those years is that I lost my sense of entitlement. Well, let me qualify that. I don't think anybody who's like me, which is to say white, male, straight, well-educated, the kind of person for whom this society was constructed, can ever say that I'm completely without a sense of entitlement. I just don't think that happens. But a lot of mine got ground away by those 15, 16 years of learning to live, as they say, low on the hog. I learned to adjust my financial needs and wants and expectations in a way that fit the circumstances of the search I was on and the life I wanted to lead. And I don't know what that translates into for young people in today's job market, but I do know, and a lot of my young writer friends, people who are now in their 30s and 40s, would agree, I think, that it's very important to embrace the fact that you will not do better than your parents did economically, and that you are going to have to adapt to that in some meaningful ways. But let me return to the question of spiritual grounding. It's more important than ever to know who you are, what's true for you, what grounds you. And these turn out to be things that aren't real costly in economic terms. They are things like spending time with friends and time in nature and time in silence and solitude and finding trustworthy communities of reference for your own life, people who are walking the path together, because none of us can walk any sort of challenging path alone.